Bunch of losers sitting around in a bar. Oh, yeah. I used to be a salesman. It's a tough racket.
That's kind of funny, the part where it says you're going to be sitting around a bar talking with a bunch of losers, sipping, saying that's a tough racket. I've experienced similar type of situations with various organizations in the past. And sometimes you understand it. Sometimes you're like, man, you can't feel sorry for yourself like this. Let's move. What's up, guys? This is Albert Lau, board member with FFL Elite. Today, I'm going to be watching and reviewing a scene from Glengarry Glen Ross, the most iconic scene. I'm sure all the top salespeople have always watched this scene. So I've seen this scene a million times. I'm gonna be watching it and kind of giving you guys some of my thoughts.
Let me have your attention for a moment. Because you're talking about what? You're talking about that sale you shot? Some don't want to buy land. Somebody don't want what you're selling. Let's talk about something important. Are they all here?
All but one.
Well, I'm going anyway. Let's talk about something important. Put that coffee down. I'm here from Mitch and Murray. And I'm here on a mission of mercy.
Glengarry Glen Ross, one of my favorite movies. I don't know about the rest of the movie, but this one scene was like the best. And we used to talk about this one all the time. We used to like rehearse the lines, me and my buddy, shout out John Franklin. So sometimes in sales, it does get this intense. Generally, it's not, but depending on the style of leadership, the style of management, you know, you can't really control where you're working at or who you work with sometimes. And sometimes it does get like this. It's kind of a boss move, actually, when he says, put that coffee down. And I think a lot of places are pretty lax. They don't want to hold people accountable like that. And no one wants to say that out loud, but you know, Alec Baldwin did his thing. It was hilarious.
You got leads. Mitch and Murray paid good money. Get their names to sell them. You can't close the leads you're given. You can't close. You are. Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it, because you are going out.
The leads are weak.
You're weak.
Well, leads are definitely an important part of the business, especially if you're a serious business person. You know, you can do it without leads, but you're spending all your time prospecting rather than actually pitching, which is what you're there for. You're not part of the marketing team. I think when it comes to leads, salespeople in particular, they I don't know. I guess it's an interesting thing. You know, it makes people either accept responsibility and figure out a way to make it happen, or they just blame the leads. And sometimes like that's big enough of an excuse. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a salesperson and you can't make it work, no matter the leads are good or bad, you're losing.
A, B, C. A, always B, C, closing. Always be closing. Always be closing.
One of the truest statements in all of sales, always be closing, ABC. I used to think it was kind of corny, but everything's about closing. And closing is not necessarily the final act of just asking the question and closing and completing the deal. Closing actually starts from the first conversation you have with the client, the first impression you make on the client. Everything plays into closing. So, I mean, I think you always have to be closing. If, you know, you treat yourself, you want to be paid as a professional, you want to be a true professional when it comes to being a salesperson, you need to think about it from the very beginning. You can't wait until too late. You can't make the first bad first impression and then try to close hard at the end. In addition, when it comes to always be closing, I don't know, not in the literal sense. There's certain deals that you probably don't want to close. You know, depending on what type of industry you're in, depending on what type of sales that you're trying to make, there's certain things like, you know, the client's not going to keep it. It doesn't benefit anybody. And so depending on the industry you're in, if there's chargebacks, some of these deals you're better walking away from. So it's got to serve a utility to both parties. You know, that's the company and the client. And if you can find a way to do that, and there's always a way to do that if you understand your product, you understand your client, and then just find a way to create that solution.
AIDA, attention, interest, decision, action.
When it comes to AIDA, I think that's the biggest thing. You gotta make sure that they take some action. That the final A is the biggest thing, because it doesn't matter if you have the attention, interest, you know, the decision, all that stuff. You got to take some action. You got to make sure that you lead them down a path where they take some action. Otherwise, all that was for naught.
Don't walk on the lot lest he wants to buy. They're sitting out there waiting to give you their money. Are you gonna take it? Are you man enough to take it?
That was actually a cold line right there. Are you bad enough to take it? I mean, it's a little bit funny, and obviously it's a kind of a douchey thing to say, but you know, when it comes to sales, I mean, like you have to either you can get it done or you can't. There's no in between. There's no like participation trophy. It comes to sales, you can do it or you can't.
Think this is abuse? You can't take this. How can you take the abuse you get on a sit? AIDA. Get mad, you get mad. You know what it takes to sell real estate? It takes brass balls to sell real estate.
Brass balls. I mean, you really have to. I mean, I don't know if I would go that far, but you definitely have to not care. You definitely have to understand what's in front of you. You have to understand your position. You got to understand why you were hired to fill that position in the first place. You're there to transact deals. You're there to push that product, that service, whatever that company has to offer. So, I mean, I don't know about brass balls, but there's got to take something. You got to dig deep, and you got to not take rejection. You got to not be sensitive about it. You have to understand what's directly in front of you, and you got to understand the overall utility. Every time you make a sale, not only do you get paid yourself, but you're helping the company, you're helping the client. You know, if you believe in that product, and you just got to keep pushing forward.
The money's out there. You pick it up, it's yours. You don't, I got no sympathy for you. You want to go out on those sits tonight and close, it's yours. Not, you're going to be shining my shoes. And you know what you'll be saying? Bunch of losers sitting around in a bar. Oh, yeah, I used to be a salesman. It's a tough racket. That's
kind of funny, the part where he says you're going to be sitting around a bar talking with a bunch of losers, sipping, saying that's a tough racket. I've experienced similar type of situations with various organizations in the past, and sometimes you understand it. Sometimes you're like, man, you can't feel sorry for yourself like this. Let's move.
These are the Glengarry leads, and to you they're gold, and you don't get them. Why? Because to give them to you is just throwing them away.
I kind of agree about that, actually, when it comes to the Glengarry Glen Ross leads. They're gold to you, but to give them to you is a waste. You know, so the thing is, a lot of people complain about the leads and say, "But I had these leads. This is what I would be doing if I had these leads. I would be selling this much too." But I mean, it doesn't play out necessarily that way. If you're entirely lead dependent and the leads were gold, and you're able to convert on those only, they don't need you. You got to become an asset to the company. You got to be able to convert on things that take a little bit more finesse, a little bit more challenge, that take a little bit more thinking. You know, you got to understand your product, and you got to understand your closing and your client, all of those different components within the whole process of making a sale. So if you feel like the leads are the only thing, and you were able to get all the gold leads or the Glengarry Glen Ross leads, you're not that valuable to an organization. Not that it doesn't make you valuable to an organization or not that valuable, but it doesn't make you the top priority within that organization. Because if anybody can do your job, you haven't separated yourself. You got to earn that part. You got to put in that work. You got to learn your business. And it's all a learnable skill. Some people naturally have it a little bit more than others, you know, but the thing is you can develop that. Thanks for joining us, guys. I had a real good time watching this scene again. It's been a while since I've had a chance to watch this thoroughly and get a chance to actually review it this time, rather than just let these thoughts run in my head or talk with my fellas. So, yeah, had a good time. See you guys soon.